What's up? What's going on, Devon?
Hey, I'm great. I just, had a good day of training today. I'm flying out to Kentucky for a competition tomorrow morning, so getting ready to go.
Awesome. Enjoying a little Winter Olympics on the eve before your travels. Had a great conversation earlier today with some of our Nordic Combined friends who are now in Lillehammer, Norway. Grant Andrews, and then we had Tess and Niklas back on the show who have been here this week. Great convo. We're gonna roll that in I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10. We'll see how this conversation goes. But welcome everyone back to another episode of What Were You Thinking, presented by World's Greatest, here on FanFest, also being simulcast live on Twitter and on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're on one of those platforms and you want to join the chat room on FanFest, go to watch.fanfest.io/World's Greatest, except remove the vowels from World's Greatest. And you can talk to Devon and I. You can ask Devon questions. We're also going to have a couple of live guests later. The stuff that we did with the Nordic Combined trio, they're out there. They have a competition in Norway. It's, I don't know, 3 a.m. out there, maybe 4 a.m. I'm not entirely sure. So naturally, we did the right thing and pre-recorded it. So we're going to play that. So they won't respond to your answers in the chat room. But Talia Brooks will, the heptathlete. She's going to be joining us. And Makaya Briscoe is also going to be joining us. But already joining my co-host, my name's Mike, by the way, but more importantly, my co-host, Devon Allen, 110 meter. Well, this is a 60-meter weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, 60-meter hurdles indoors, 110 outdoors.
There you go.
2-time U.S. Olympian, and hopefully a few-time World Championship medalist and Olympic medalist as my career, probably comes to an end in the next 20 years.
Yeah, you're still young. You've still got some speed and got some hops. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, to be honest, and it's funny to say, everybody talks about like your athletic prowess. Right now is like where I felt my best, ever. Like, just total strength, speed, conditioning, fitness, just in general. So, I just turned 27 a couple months ago, and so I feel like I'm in a good prime of my athletic career. So hopefully I can, hold this prime for 4 or 5 more years.
Get some avocado ice cream. Go TB12 style. You'll be doing it for 2 more decades.
Wait, is that a real thing?
Yeah.
Avocado
TB12
ice
is
cream.
all about the avocado.
I've had.
It's what kept Tom Brady throwing touchdowns until like 2 weeks ago. And
I've had avocado chocolate mousse.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I got it. I'm taking notes today, and that's the first note I'm taking is avocado chocolate mousse.
Well, it's just like avocado, and then you take like cocoa, like powder, and some oil and stuff. And you blend it together, and it becomes no more ice cream.
Perhaps the best Photoshop we've seen all week.
The interesting thing is a lot of NFL players actually lose weight post, career being over, as opposed to like track athletes kind of, are known to put on a couple pounds.
Yeah,
just because we're running all the time.
You're quite lean versus, you look at I don't know, take an NFL tight end, for example. There's a lot of muscle packed in there, and that probably dwindles away quickly. So this is what, day 6, I think we're on day 6. I've kind of lost track. We've been going the entire run of the Winter Olympics doing this show with talking with winter athletes, talking with summer athletes. We're going to be going until the end of the winter games. I think we have another 10 days to go. Right here, live, 9 p.m. every day. It's been awesome. Devon, I know you've been watching a ton of winter games. You were watching figure skating yesterday when we talked with Ryan Krauser, which was a great conversation. If you didn't watch it, A, what were you thinking? B, go back and watch it. Talk to me about what you've been watching recently happening out in Beijing. What's catching your eye out there?
So yesterday I actually caught, or it actually might have been today. I'm losing track of days, but I caught some of the men's Nordic combined. I saw the jumping portion. And then, like Tess said, so, the time in between jumping and the cross country sometimes is different. And I think they had a few hours off, and then they started their race. And I actually didn't get to see the finish, but so I got to watch that a little bit. I watched some of the half pipe, both men and women.
Nice.
And then I watched the like some of the qualifying rounds for the curling. So
Yeah.
what you got on going right now?
Yeah,
There we
we're
go. So producer Bob got our tweet going. So
there it is.
Vinzenz Geiger of Germany won the gold in the
The
normal
normal.
hill. You know what's crazy is I was watching the ski jump, and for some reason I thought like it was a ramp. It's not a ramp.
No.
Like they're jumping off a flat, like they're going down and it's flat.
And it's
So
flat.
they're legitimately jumping. I thought like it was kind of like a,
Oh,
like
you
a
thought it
half
was
pipe type of thing.
more of a ski launch.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I was like, man, so these athletes are actually just going straight down and trying to, because when you go off the like edge of a ramp, you kind of just get shot off. But in
Right.
ski jumping, you actually have to time it. Like the timing's super important. And I was watching the commentators kind of talk about, oh, his timing was off or that was perfect timing and stuff like that. So very interesting.
Yeah, the more, and we discussed this in our conversation that we're going to show in a little bit. The more I watch Nordic Combined and then B talk to Nordic Combined athletes, uh there's there's just so many like little intricacies. Like it's very very deep sport. On the surface level it's not so much. Like you think you ski and jump and then you do cross country, but there is a ton involved. And that's terrifying, the fear of heights. Yeah, I every time Bob shows one of these tweets, I'm kind of getting goosebumps. But yeah, you just jump, and it's you got to be really strong to make that happen. Mine would be more of like a ski dribble. I would just go, it's kind of
Well, and the timing of the landing, because the downslope is so gradual. They're pretty much just flying like like feet away from the ground
mhm.
for 100 meters,
Yeah.
and so it's pretty impressive to know when to like decide that you're going to land and not, because one of the parts of the event is landing cleanly. So this
So
could be me this summer.
oh,
Post
it
post world
absolutely
champs.
could be.
You're going to see me skating around like this in Eugene.
I would love to see that. I would love to see. Just give me one lap. Just give me a 400 of well, except don't wipe out like that guy did there. That looks like it could be quite painful. We did have this conversation that we had. It was like 90 minutes. So we're chopping it up. We're going to air bits and pieces throughout the next several episodes. Uh there was a part that we're probably going to air either tomorrow or the next day where they talk about their, I don't know how you say it, their best crashes, if you will. And yeah, kind of some horror stories, but they get right back up to the top of that hill and shoot right off. Yeah, look at that. You can see where it kind of L's off there, where it doesn't
Yeah,
go off that
exactly.
way. Just yeah, it's incredible. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you want to just watch this? I've been teasing this chat for a little while now. You want to check it out?
Let's let it roll. Roll the footage.
There you go. So everyone, if you're at FanFest, make sure you unmute it yourself. That's the cool part about FanFest. You have complete control. So when I get annoyed or annoying, you can just mute me and listen to just Devon. But also with the video player, you got to unmute it. If you're watching on any other platform, you don't have to unmute it. We'll take care of that for you. And we're going to go check out this conversation that I had today with Grant Andrews, Tess Arnone. I think I got that. Yeah, Tess
Yeah.
Arnone and Niklas Malacinski. So Bob,
See, yeah,
bring it up.
you got it
I'll
today.
say it.
Sinsky, not Chinsky.
What did I say? See, I keep
No,
Sinsky
no, you got
with
it right. You got it
another
right.
great
Go.
interview
Great.
overseas. We have three athletes in Europe right now: Grant Andrews, Tess Arnone, and Niklas Malacinski. Or is it Malacinski? Which one is it?
Malacinski.
Malacinski. All right. So I'm gonna get it the third time you're on the show. I'll get it right. I promise.
Perfect.
So you guys, thanks for joining us all the way from, where are we today? It seems like every day you're in a different country right now.
We're in Lillehammer, Norway right now.
Okay.
We also got here today.
Yeah.
We have a competition tomorrow, actually.
All right. Talk me through what's happening. What's happening tomorrow? I'm curious to know what's going on out there in Norway.
So tomorrow we'll have maybe just one official training jump, actually. PCR competition, which is a provisional competition round. So if there's a wind hold that cancels a competition later on this weekend, they'll use that round as the competition round. So it's like, I don't know, pretty self-explanatory, provisional competition round.
That that's a really kind of unique thing. So tomorrow doesn't count, but it might count.
Well, so we'll have an official training round, the PCR round, and then a competition round. So 3 rounds of jumping and then a 10K race. And later on in the weekend, if the conditions are too bad to get off a jumping competition, then we'll actually use that round. And it happens more often than you'd think.
Is it different, like knowing that you're going into a PCR round, but that these actually might be used? I mean, I'm assuming a lot of the prep is still the same, but like mindset wise, is it kind of like, well, maybe this doesn't count, so a couple things maybe change in your prep, or you just got to do everything like it's competition
the
day?
round is not going to count. It's used every single time. Like when I was younger, we would go to 2 places, Ruka, Finland, and well, we still go there, but Ruka, Finland, and Klingenthal, Germany, and they're very large hills with wind problems almost every single time you go, and so you can pretty much count on them using the PCR there because it's just so inconsistent with the wind. And when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, it's PCR, they're not going to use this, and of course they always did. And then just recently, when was Seefeld? How many weeks ago? 2 weeks?
1 week.
Yeah. So 2 weeks in Seefeld, Austria. It's like normally pretty chill. Like there's not too much wind, and they almost always just go through the whole weekend without using PCR. And I'm like, oh, I had a really bad jump in my PCR, and I was like, oh, they won't use it. It's it's a Seefeld triple, and of course the wind got terrible the rest of the weekend, and they used it. So you never know. You got to count on it being used almost.
Have you like caught yourself like you had such a great PCR and you're like back in the hotel that night and you're just like, man, I'm praying that that's the one, that's the one we're going to use?
I actually won a PCR round in Park City, Utah, 2 years ago, and I was like really crossing my fingers that they'll use it, just because like I would start first for the cross country race, and of course it's like whenever you jump well, they don't use it, and whenever you jump bad or like don't think they're going to use it, it's used. At least that's what's happened to me. I'm sure other athletes it's not that same way.
Is there any sort of provisional thing as it applies to the race portion, or is it just the jumping?
No, it's rare that race conditions are too bad to race. So I'd say that's I've never heard of that or seen that in my career.
The only time that they'll cancel a race is if it's ridiculously cold. I think like minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit, or it might even be colder than that. So you pretty much always race if a race is going to happen. Sometimes you'll race before a jumping competition in a mass start format, and then you race and then jump afterwards, and the race time is converted to jump points, and then your jump is added to that, or well, I guess it would be subtracted. Anyhow, it's like all complicated with like the technical stuff on how it's all like the results are put together, but sometimes you'll race and then jump after, and if there's not a PCR round for that, or like a PCR round is already used and then you do a mass start and they can't get off the competition, then you'll just have raced for no reason. Like you just don't get a result that day.
I have learned so much this week about Nordic Combined. It's a very complex sport. On the surface level, it doesn't really seem like it, like, oh, cross-country skiing. And then, well, obviously, technically, there's a lot going on with jumping, but, yeah, there's a lot of rules. There's a lot of crazy terminology. We were talking about crotches yesterday. Like, what? It's an interesting sport, let me tell you.
Okay, but honestly, I'm glad we're not moguls, because that's crazy.
Yeah.
I like my knees hurt just watching the moguls.
Right.
Have either of you three ever tried that? Ever tried the moguls?
No, I haven't.
Not like competitively at all.
Yeah, I mean, I've done them on the mountain, but other than that, no.
It looks like they're like, it's just controlled falling down basically, and just catching all these humps as they go. What are you guys watching there, by the way? I see the light changing color, so I know the TV's on.
We were watching the Olympics,
You
10K
can
classic.
you can turn that
Yeah,
off.
you can turn
Yeah,
it
we can
off.
actually
It's
turn it off.
commercials
But it's
now.
commercials now.
It was the 10K women's classic skate ski, or I guess it's classic.
Women's
It's not-
classic
yeah.
10K. Yeah.
There you go. Do you I asked this question actually to both of them, but haven't spoken with you yet, Grant. Do you like watch as much of the Olympics as possible? And then second part of that question, do you focus mainly on sports that disciplines that you are focused on, or do you get down on curling and figure skating and hockey?
Well, I would just mainly focus on the sports that I'm interested in. And so that is for sure Nordic Combined and ski jumping, but also cross country skiing, biathlon, downhill, moguls, and pretty much anything that like I have a friend in, or is like the sport's just interesting to me. And if I'm free and it's on, I'll watch it for sure. But those are the sports that I actually follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that and all of you feel free to talk amongst yourselves as well, but I'm just kind of curious, are there any sports that you've watched that you've just kind of been in shock and awe this Olympics for any reason whatsoever? Because every single day I'm watching something, I'm just like, this is real life. Like what's going on over there in China right now? I'm kind of curious, since you guys are in that world.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's two great examples just within our sport and ski jumping this within the last 2 days or something.
Mhm.
The team event, the mixed team event for ski jumping was just insanely wild. There were so many disqualifications and the biggest countries got out, but Canada ended up getting a bronze medal in the event, which was just like from left field.
Right.
And I don't know if they went in thinking like, oh yeah, we're gonna medal this week or today or whatever, but it happened, and that just blew my mind. And then obviously with COVID, like so many athletes are just getting pulled out of the games because they got COVID, and
Mhm.
it's totally changing the results. So like disqualifications, COVID are just kind of messing the Olympics up.
Yeah.
I mean, Geiger too.
Yeah, so in our sport, actually, most exciting races I've watched in like my career of watching Nordic Combined, it was just it's kind of turned into a boring sport to watch, especially for insiders, I guess. But now with COVID and having top athletes being taken out, and like nowadays anything can go, like as we saw with Canadians getting a bronze medal, so it just makes it so much more interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the other upset, I mean, it wasn't necessarily an upset, but in the Nordic Combined 10K on the small hill yesterday, did you watch that race? If
I
not,
didn't. I know. I wasn't able to watch that one, unfortunately.
Okay. So the jumping round was like fairly normal. The like most good jumpers had a decent jump, and it was a fairly large spread between first place and second place, and then second to like 10th or whatever. They were behind, and watching the whole race, it was like kind of boring all the way up until the very last lap, because it was just three guys in the lead the whole time. And then on the very last lap, within the last like 500 meters of the finish,
The chase group caught up to the lead group, and it ended up being a 5-man sprint. It was crazy.
First. It was crazy. Yeah, Vincent Geiger just like blew by Ridzek like he was standing still within the last 400 meters of the race. And literally like a half kilometer beforehand, they were so far off of the front that it looked like, oh yeah, this is just going to be a walk into the finish for these guys. And it came down to the end. It was crazy. It was probably the best finish I've ever seen in my entire life.
How does something like that happen? Is it in the front they just got a little lax, like, oh, I got this one in the bag, or the back was just like, it's go time?
I think it actually has to do partially with altitude. Most of these racers well, actually, almost all of our races are in Europe at lower altitudes, and it becomes more of like a, you say, it like power sport almost. Like there's obviously endurance still, but you can race a lot faster when you're at low altitude, and when you're at high altitude, it relies on your engine more because you just don't have as much oxygen. So a lot of those guys um, maybe didn't get to adjust as much as they would have liked to the high altitude, and a lot of people were falling apart. And I think that's what happened to Ridzek, who was in the lead, and just yeah, Geiger flew by.
Basically, just a lot of these top athletes who are really fast are known for their strong finishes, and you could tell in the last lap people were blowing apart. Like it was actually like it was carnage.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it just has to do with altitude mainly, and I really couldn't pinpoint it on anything else. I think it has to do at least a little bit with that.
Sure,
But,
sure.
yeah.
So here's a question, because you guys do something that's pretty unique, right, as far as the rest of the world goes. I'm kind of curious, what's your favorite part about what you do, about Nordic Combined, about traveling? You know, what's your favorite part about this career choice?
Oh, that's a difficult question.
If you don't want to go too deep into it, I would say travel, flying, flying off the ski jump, not flying around the world.
I was gonna say, like, shout out
I mean,
Delta, like, good job, guys.
Travel, flying, they're kind of.
You know what? Let's say traveling, flying on a plane. Let's put those together, and then just flying on skis. And then I honestly couldn't tell you what it is about cross country skiing that makes me love it so much. You would think that most people like just would hate it just because it's pure what is it? Torture.
It
You're
can
going
be.
as hard as you can for 10 kilometers on repeat throughout November to March.
Yeah. I'd say it's probably, I mean, I just love going to new places. I mean, now it's not so new for me. I've been to most of the competition venues now, but also just being able to see and like all the rest of your competitors, and most of us are pretty good friends too, so it's nice to see them. And then of course, like, I think ski jumping is by far the coolest part of our sport. It's so much fun. It's really hard to put into words. So Tess, you?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, traveling's great. I'm pretty pumped because on this trip I get to check off another country, Poland. Haven't been there, so that'll be fun. But then, yeah, I think just the feeling of after a race being like going out there, being like, I put everything out there and I went as hard as I could. And I think it definitely is a little bit of that runner's high. And I mean, ski jumping's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Can't complain there.
Yeah, I could see that getting the adrenaline pumping a little bit. just going up, like, before the jump, I would just be like shaking in my boots. What do your friends say, or just other people, when you tell them what it is that you do, like, as a career choice?
A lot of people don't know what it is, actually.
Yeah.
You flip
Nordic
into the
Combined, or
pool?
just or ski jumping in
yeah,
general?
gosh. Ski jumping, and well, Nordic Combined especially, but also ski jumping, because you say Nordic Combined and people just have no idea what you're talking about. And then you tell them, oh, it's ski jumping and cross country skiing, and they think that you do two sports.
But I'd say at that point, about half of the people, like,
yeah,
it clicks in their head, like, oh, okay, it's like a combination of the sport. But still, a lot of people just don't know what it is. But for the people who do, I think people just think we're psychopaths for launching ourselves off a ramp. Like, as soon as you get off that bar, there's no turning back. I think that terrifies people.
Yeah, I think so much of a thing anymore. We've ski jumped so many times now that that's not part of it. It's almost all just become technical.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're younger and you start moving up jumps, that's when you really get your first like burst of adrenaline. Like, you move up from the 60 meter to the 90 meter, and it's so much bigger, and you just like have a hard time getting off the bar because you're like, I don't know what's gonna happen. But I mean, it's the same. It's ski jumping. And as you grow older and jump more big hills, it kind of fades away a little bit until you have another furthest jump, because then you're like in the air so much higher for so much longer, and that's when you get those butterflies again.
Can you tell when you're in the air, like how far you're actually going, like to the meter?
No, about 90% of the time you can tell that you're going huge if like off the takeoff, but that 10% of the time there'll be like tailwind after you get a boost of headwind or something like that, and then you'll just fall out of the sky basically.
Yeah.
So
But
you're not
it's not to the exact, like you can estimate where you land. Like if let's say K, the red line, if you land right around there, like you'll know that that's like, let's say 90 meters, because you know where that red line is.
Mhm.
But also people think they go a lot further than they do because the skis are so long, you think you land where your tips landed.
Yeah, it's about a 2 meter difference when you land. Like you think you went 2 meters further than you actually did, almost all the time. And then you think you have that in your head, like, oh, yeah, no, I went 2 meters shorter than that, and you'll think about that for a little while, and then you'll go on with training for the next few months and forget about it, and then be like, oh, I went this far today. You watch the video again, and you're like, no, you didn't go that far today.
Just constant disappointment, man. Like,
Yeah.
do you ever have that jump and think, oh, okay, I was 2 meters back, but actually it was way farther than you thought it was going to be?
No, no,
Okay.
that's almost never the case. I would say
Fair enough.
you almost always
No,
overestimate.
that's not true. I've had some jumps where I'm like, I don't know, maybe those headwind and it was easier to land, and it's like, okay, like
Oh,
I that didn't hurt that bad to land.
what about in training when there's no lines?
Oh yeah, also like sometimes in
That's
training
fun.
when they don't set up lines or like markers and stuff to like give yourself that estimate of where you're landing, then you kind of have like no idea where you're
Yeah,
going.
like if so for competitions, they always have lines on the hill,
Mhm.
and you will know where the K mark is, and you know where the hill size mark is, and um, then you also have like 5 meter increments of lines across the hill, so you have a good idea of where you landed. But in training, sometimes like if it just snowed and it covered all the lines from that were there previously, and you go up and jump and your coach doesn't set anything out there, you could think you went like K, but for some reason, maybe there was a lot of headwind that day and you didn't realize, you could go a lot further than you think you did. And just because there's no lines down there, you could land it just like it would be landing higher on the hill. And it would feel like it wouldn't hurt as much. Because I think when you get in your head about going far, it hurts more to land down there. And so
Okay.
if you're just not thinking about it, and there's no lines on the hill.
One of my
You could
coaches,
land
Carl
further.
Denny, he would he's kind of like a club coach in Steamboat, and he would set the markers, like he would kind of like messes with him. Like sometimes he'll put them down the hill, and I remember I think this one jump, I have it on my Instagram or something, but it's like the red line was, he moved it past HS, which is after K, and it's just basically it's like um how would you describe
As
HS?
far as
It's
you
the hill
wanna
size.
go.
It's like
The
it's
hill size. And basically
Okay.
anything past hill size is like bar. So I went like pretty far past the red line, and I like, since I thought I was going shorter, I held my flight longer and all. So like it was easier to land, but in reality I went huge. I still landed on my back, but it didn't it didn't hurt as bad.
Yeah, we're all from Steamboat, actually, Steamboat Springs, Colorado. And so
I've
Carl,
noted everyone's from Steamboat Springs, Colorado in my conversations this week.
yeah. So Carl was all of our coaches growing up, at least for a little while. And yeah, he would do the same thing. He would basically, you have the K and hill size markers, and he would just mess with us by moving them around on the hill on different days. So yeah, that's what Nicholas was talking about there.
When you're in the air, where are you looking?
Ideally, a few meters past hill size, or depending on the hill, because some hills like the K and hill size are way further down than some hills. Like compared to the R2. So basically the transition into the flat coming from the landing. But ideally right around HS or past. And that's actually, it also comes down to technique work, because sometimes if you're looking too far down, it means like you're pushing on your skis, which is kind of drawing you back to the landing, versus when you try to look up, it could help you fly longer and more.
Yeah, and then the other thing is like if you look too like if you this happened to me when I was younger. I was having a hard time going very far, like past K, and so I started to get better and better, and I would just keep looking at K because that's where I always used to look. And what happens is if you look down, you start doing this, and then you just start falling out of the sky. So it kind of inhibits you from going any further. Um, so yeah, like you said, ideally looking down the hill as far as you can.
So not taking in the sights, like, oh, I'm above the trees. This is kind of cool. Like, that's not what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I tried it once because I was having troubles, and my coach was like, "You need to look at the mountains across the valley," and that didn't work at all for me. But yeah, sometimes you mess around with it in training just to see if it works, but most of the time you're looking at the bottom of the hill.
Thank you guys for coming back. Thank you, Grant, for being here for the first time. I hope
Yeah,
to
nice to
talk
meet
to
you guys.
all you guys again. We're going to keep this show going. So by all means, just, if you got nothing to do out there, hit us up. We'll chat again. I got more questions. Bob's got more questions.
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd be interested for sure.
Great. All right. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. No
Thank
problem.
you so much.
Thank you.
I got more questions. Bob's got more. Oh, okay. There you go. Oh, and we're back. We're live. That was a. It's so young. Everyone is so young in Nordic Combined. It's pretty crazy.
It's kind of crazy too. They're so young in general in winter sports compared to summer sports.
Yes. Well, it's
Um,
because the concept of self-preservation has yet to fully kick in by that point in time.
Yeah, and it seems like too that most of the athletes are doing a lot more like specialization earlier, right? Because there's not a lot of college programs, so they kind of just jump straight from being 17 in high school and 18, and now they're pro. And then the ones that are really, really, really elite end up going on to the Olympic level, and then they're 22 by the time they're in their second Olympics, or 26 by the third Olympics, which is very, very impressive.
Yeah. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. And I believe Makaya Briscoe is going to be joining us any minute. Hopefully she was able to catch a little bit of that, because there are a couple things that were said that I really find interesting. We started that whole that segment with them talking about the PCR, the provisional competition round.
Mhm.
Could you imagine if you're in the gold medal final, but there's a warm up before that, and then the win starts. So they say, you know what, we're just going to use the time from the warm up, and that's the final. It's a crazy
Right.
concept.
They sometimes that happens, not specifically that way, but
Nope.
at regionals in 2016, there was a weather delay,
Mm.
and you're supposed to do prelims, and then later you do finals, and there's like a tornado delay or warning, and so they just cancel all the prelims, and we all ran time finals the next day, which could be good for some athletes or bad for some as well. So very interesting that could happen.
Wow, yeah, but it's crazy that they go into it knowing this one might count, but we won't know if it counts for another 2 days.
Yeah,
It's
true.
it's a crazy concept. So I see Makaya joining us. What's going on?
Yo.
Hi, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Loud
We
and
can hear
loud
you.
and clear. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking a
Thanks
little
for
bit of
having
time.
me.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little track and field, talk a little maybe curling. I don't know, some winter sports. Have you been watching any of the winter games?
I've been looking in and out, mainly following it on my phone just to see what's been going on, but I didn't even know what this Nordic event was until I started like listening to y'all talk about it today. But that's very interesting. I don't think I could ever do it. I'm glad I do a summer sport because I couldn't imagine being out there in the cold, but it's very interesting to see and to learn about.
Yeah, for sure. It's also a lot safer when you start and finish on the ground. So you don't have to
Very much so.
worry about that whole thing. So
Speak for yourself.
so let's talk about you a little bit for those folks who are watching who maybe don't know about you, who haven't been paying attention to the start of this young track and field season. Why don't you tell us who you are and what do you do?
So my name is Makaya Briscoe. I am a track and field athlete. I run the 100 and 200 meter dashes. I went to LSU. I'm from Baton Rouge, was born and raised here, and I'm still training at LSU with my college coach. I haven't made the Olympic team yet, but I'm looking to make the team in a couple of years. He did just post that right now I'm the world leader in the 6 meter dash. That happened on Saturday or on Sunday.
Yep.
That was exciting. And we have USA trials in a couple of weeks that I'm preparing for in hopes to make the world indoor track team.
I you introduce yourself as a 100 200, but you got the world lead in the 60. Don't shortchange the 60.
Okay, so yeah, the 60 is, we only do that indoors because the track
Right.
is only, 200 meters. So, we like the indoor season, but what really matters is the outdoor season. So I'll focus mainly on the outdoor
You
races.
feel the same way, Devon? The 60 hurdles, they don't get your blood pumping as much?
You know what? I do, just because I'm from Phoenix originally, so I never ran indoors until I got to college.
Okay.
So not that I don't like indoors, I do like running in those events, and most of the time, you don't have to deal with like the weather or anything like that, which is good. But I
Mhm.
prefer outdoors.
But when you take down Grant's world record indoors, you're not going to be complaining.
Well, no, I'm not going to complain then, but until then, I'm going to complain.
There you go. Damn it, Grant. So, the other thing I just find so funny about in the Nordic combined world, they keep describing the United States as we're a small country. Like Canada is a small country. The field is just not. I still can't get over that. I understand what they're saying, but then you look at track and field, and it's like the exact opposite, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think, um, when you look at the number of athletes in the specific sports, I think the U.S. track and field team is the largest, you know, number of athletes in a single sport in winter or summer Olympics. So, um, when they say we're a small country, I understand it, because we don't do a lot of, of the winter Nordic sports and ski jumping and cross country skiing and stuff like that,
Yep.
because it's just not as easily accessible as it is in some of the Nordic countries and stuff like that. But for the most part, we do pretty well competition wise, right? And bobsled and luge and ice skating
Mm-hmm.
and half pipe and freestyle skiing, the
Defending gold
curling,
medal,
exactly.
defending gold
Yeah,
medal champs right here, baby.
we do a pretty good job for a small country.
Yeah. Yeah, and finally getting on the medal board. The first few days there, Devin, you and I were looking.
We
We're
were
like,
dry. We were
oh
dry.
no, we
Yeah.
haven't. But now, finally, the medal count is starting to come fast and furious. We'll be at the top soon enough, I'm sure. Do you, Makaya, enjoy any sort of winter activities? I mean, it's not like you don't really get blizzards in Baton Rouge, but do when you do get lucky enough to be around snow and ice, do you partake?
No, I
Oh,
don't even have like the appropriate clothes to like be outside in cold weather. So like I have to just layer up. When I was in New York for Milrose, it was snowing outside, and I was ready to get back to the hotel because I don't like the cold. So in the winter, I'm mainly just in the house watching movies, drinking hot chocolate, drinking coffee. So I don't really partake in any winter sports or winter activities. And we don't really have much of a winter in Baton Rouge anyway. For Christmas, it was like in the 70s, maybe 80s. I know I was in a t-shirt. So
wow. There you go.
yeah.
So let's say, just for the sake of argument, you liked the cold weather, so I don't know. But are there any sports that actually like intrigue you? Like you'd be like, maybe I would try that.
I do like watching curling.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like that's like more of like a mental kind of sport. So I think I would be interested in like learning more about that. I'll be like the person that rolls
The bowler,
I don't know
yeah.
what it's called. I wouldn't be the sweeper. So yeah, that's what I'll be interested in
Is
doing.
that it? The bowler? There's a curling center, I guess you would call it, very close to where I'm at, and I've been wanting to do it because they have like Sunday brunch, like curling and Bloody Mary type combination every Sunday, and I'm like, I could see that being pretty fun, actually. I could, next time you come up this way, I'm up in Connecticut. Next time you're at Milrose, we'll take a little trip, do a little bit of curling. I think that would be
That
really
would be
fun.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you are a summer athlete. The season is just getting underway. I mean, the indoor season's coming to a close, but the 2022 season is starting as a whole. What are you looking forward to as we kind of kick that off?
So we do have a major championship this year, which is the World Outdoor Track Meet. So
Yep.
that's my biggest goal this year, just making that team. But I have short-term goals before then, just running certain times and making the team ultimately.
There you go. That's in Eugene, I believe. Again, it's Eugene's
It
got
is in Eugene,
it's the
so
big stage. A couple
right, it'll be
ago, huh?
in the home country, so it's
Another
definitely the
one.
team to make.
Yeah. What kind of added pressure is that, if any, that the World Outdoor Championships is happening on home soil?
I don't think it's any added pressure. It's more so an advantage because we don't have to deal with the travel.
Mm.
It is on a different time zone, but that I can easily get adjusted to a 2-hour time difference. So I think it'll be exciting.
What's your actually? I'll wait until we get both guests on, and I'll ask this question. But I think we have another guest joining us here in a second.
Yeah, Talia
Um,
Brooks, heptathlete. She should be on soon enough.
so
I think I saw her in the chat. Bring her on in.
there
Bring
she
her in.
is.
Hi
There she
guys.
is.
Hi, Talia.
There's she. There's she. Would you cut off the fro?
It's just breaking up right now. Sometimes I gotta. It's hard to deal with, so it needs a break every once in a while.
See, it was kismet because I almost wore my Fear the Fro shirt, but I left it at home today, and now it just makes perfect sense because now I would have been like, people would be like, "Who's that on your shirt? It doesn't look like." Talia,
That's
welcome so much to the show. It's so good to see you.
all right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just start it off real quick for those who may not know. Tell us who you are and what it is that you do.
Talia Brooks. I am a heptathlete. So 7 events over 2 days. Get more points the better you do in each event, and whoever has the most points at the end wins. It's not that fun, but it is.
You were so serious about that, guys. It's not that fun. You're like, save me, please. All right, Devon, ask away. Ask your question.
Okay, so real quick, because we were just talking about Eugene 2022 World Champs being in Eugene. What are your guys' opinion about Eugene competition and/or NCAA's in Eugene when they happen there? Because I get a lot of back and forth. Some people love it. Some people are like, "Oh, it's in Eugene." But when I go there, I always have a good time and I compete well. So I try not to complain too much. But what do you think about the atmosphere?
Right.
You went to
I feel
Oregon.
right. It's different for you because you went to school there, maybe. But I just hate traveling over there every single year. The track is amazing. The atmosphere is amazing. I just wish it was in the South
Okay.
because it's hard just getting over there, getting family over there. But other than like the travel and the location, I like it.
Okay.
And it's nothing to do.
Yeah, I'm a nature person, and the travel is hard. I like that the fans are super into track, but a lot of people in Oregon think you can't find that somewhere else, and you definitely can. Like Texas has plenty of track fans, so I think it would be cool to have the championship somewhere else every once in a while. And the weather, like one year, I want to say it was my sophomore year. It was sunny. It was day 2 of the HEP, so it must have been like finals day for the men. And it was sunny, and then it started hailing. I got hailed on in the javelin, and then it cleared up and was sunny again, and that was a hot mess. And we wouldn't have those problems in Texas. But obviously, the stadium's beautiful. The fans are always really into it, especially if you're wearing a green jersey.
Okay, well, so okay, fair enough. So competition wise, thumbs up. Travel, it's hard to get there. Yeah, I can second that. It is difficult if you don't live on the West Coast, especially. The only thing that I, like to argue with is it's not easy to get to Fayetteville. It's not easy to get in Baton Rouge. Like those are good. Those are two large places that have a lot of track and field history, a lot of track and field fans, and great facilities in general. Texas A&M could be in there as well. All those places, College Station, Fayetteville, Baton Rouge, aren't as easy. I mean, they're not harder than Eugene, but they could be just as difficult depending on where you live. So that's my only
people are
argument there.
closer. I feel like more track athletes are closer to these places than in Oregon.
You have
Fair
the
enough.
ability
You got
to drive
Florida,
to these
Georgia, like,
places
you
or
know,
fly to these places. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Could you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, now living on the East Coast, it definitely that travel back west is tough. Like I'm going back home to Phoenix on Monday, and I'm not looking forward to the 6-hour plane ride, which I never did a lot of when I was living on the West Coast. We had meets in Eugene and California and stuff like that. So it's interesting to get your guys' take on that because I had that argument with a lot of my friends that when I talk about, oh, I'm so excited that championships are in Eugene or obviously that's my home.
But
So
it's every year.
I'm a
You
ride
don't
and
get
die.
tired of going.
Sure, fair enough. Okay.
But at least, and we've been talking to a lot of these Nordic Combined athletes, these winter athletes, skiers. At least you've got some competitions on home soil because pretty much every time they have a competition, they got to fly over to Europe or fly over to Asia and then back and forth. And we heard some horror stories from a lot of them. I mean, imagine it's just like trying to fly with pole vaults, trying to fly with 12 competition skis. So at least there's that, right? At least you have the option to drive instead of going to the absolute top of Norway where it's high altitude and really cold and they eat, it's nothing to eat but moose. Like, yeah, that's all things considered. You got it all right.
That's true. That is true.
Right.
I got a quick question because since we talked about like carrying implements, I want to kind of pivot towards what is the hardest thing in your opinion about each of your guys' events. So Makaya, tell me what you think the hardest thing is being a track and field sprinter is, whether it be training or, the type of lifting or whatever. So give me your take.
On the spot. Just thinking about the 60-meter dash right now, and the 6 is a short event, so the hardest thing for that I would say is nailing a start or just like not having any room for error. So I guess just being patient and learning how to perfect that race is the most challenging thing for me right now, just because I know, there's no room for error. It's only 60 meters. You only get about 7 seconds to get it right. So that's what's on my mind right now.
Okay, fair enough. What about you, Talia?
That god awful 800. No one likes it. I've met maybe like one heptathlete that actually likes to run the 800, and it's hard. It doesn't matter how much you practice for it. It's like mentally and physically hard, especially if you're put in a situation where like, okay, I have to beat this girl by 2 seconds to beat her and make the team, or I have to be within a second and a half of her to beat her and make the team. So now it's not even about how fast you can run. It's about the distance and the time that you are to another person. And so if she's a 210 girl and you're a 215 girl, you better suck it up and just. So that can be tough, but I think, that's definitely the hardest thing.
Is it that feeling that you have like, where your stomach is kind of like turning over right before the race? And I could imagine that happens in the 60 as well, because the start's so important, like you said. So it's interesting the parallels between all sports. We were talking about Ryan Krauser. We talked with Ryan Krauser yesterday, talking about the shot put and how he kind of builds his confidence and leading into a competition and with preparation he can like lower that amount of like nervousness was his answer to a question about being like nervous or preparing for an event. So definitely interesting stuff to take from elite athletes in general, especially, you know, you guys and me included that compete at the highest level, which is very cool.
That video that we just had up there, by the way, everyone who's watching, go to youtube.com/world's greatest. It's this series we did called Superhuman Stories, and one of the episode focuses on Talia here. And what you just saw, that footage, was her running an 800, and then subsequently, it was a near-death experience, I want to say. You were kind of on the ground for a while. I appreciate, like, I was like hovering over you with the camera, and I'm so happy you didn't kick me, because I was like, I could tell you were kind of like, you were having a little bit of trouble there. But it's a great little short documentary that we did. Shamir is in it as well with you in your episode, and that was it's really insightful. I have to say, about all the training that goes into the HEP.
Yeah, it's a lot. And that episode, I think we had a track meet the day before. It was the last ATL indoor meet.
Right.
So my wanted it to kind of mimic a HEP. So I ran the hurdles the day before, came back the next morning and had an 800 time trial. And that's the fastest 800 I've ever ran in my life, whether it's in practice or in a track meet. So, yeah, I was hurting. I didn't have any energy to kick you, but I wanted to be like, Mike, out of my face, please. The people were going to see me throwing up and stuff.
Yeah, no, you held your own. Captain was laughing. It was a good old time there in Fayetteville.
It was a good time. And Boogie's group was here training, and they were supposed to leave. They changed their flights to watch me do this 800 time trial. Like, that's commitment. So I probably ran faster, too, because people were there cheering for me. Y'all were there, cameras.
That's what Coach said. Captain was like, you guys need to come down with cameras every day, because I got the best training session out of everybody. Yeah, that was crazy. Really insightful. Yeah, go check it out. Superhuman Stories, youtube.com/world's greatest. We're gonna have to do an episode with Makaya soon. I think, Devon, we're gonna get down there to Maryland and get you at some point soon too. So
that'll be good.
Yeah.
quick question too, because I do this and I haven't done it in a while because, you know, I don't want to be overbearing to my Twitter followers, but I used to tweet every time I had a hard workout, which was every week at some point, like, oh, 3 by 350 is the hardest workout, don't at me, or 6 by 150 is the hardest workout, don't at me. So I got a question for both you guys. What is the hardest workout in track and field?
I just lost my life the other day at the track, and it was actually on some 250s, but I think for me it's 300s. Speed endurance. Anything that's speed endurance. 300s at like 39 seconds. I want no parts of. I can do without, and my coach loves that workout.
What's the rest looking like there?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. So almost full recovery.
Yeah, but
not quite,
that
but close.
150s. I don't like that either. I'm not a person that throws up, but 150s can get me there.
Yeah.
They can get me.
Yeah, fortunately, I'm a short sprinter, so I don't really have to do anything beyond 150 meters. And even if I mean, my 150 workouts are like 3 at most with full recovery. So I wouldn't say like my in-season workouts are the worst, but in fall training, definitely stadiums. I hate stadiums. I try to get out of it every week. I try to make teams so that I don't have to do stadiums the next year, but hate it.
Is that like the deal? Like if you make a world championship team, coaches
yeah,
make
I
you do
try.
stadium?
Yeah, I try, but it hasn't worked yet. So I
Fair
don't
enough.
think it's gonna work.
I like it. You're rewriting the rules. What workouts do you get up for though? Like if you know a workout's coming, like what do you get really excited to go and do?
Probably just a weight room day.
Yeah.
When I'm not running. I mean, I like running, but I don't like running. I would rather like just chill and do weights than like beat my body up running.
I like, it just depends. Like hurdle days, I really like hurdle days. Our hurdle days are fun. And when I'm in good shape, surprisingly, I say I don't like the 800, but I really like. Sometimes I do a workout 600, 400, 222. I like that when I'm in shape. When I'm not in shape, that's hard. That is hard.
So you would do a 400 in between 2 other runs and think that's okay?
Yeah.
The board in itself is already like,
I
okay,
just,
that's all
I think I traditionally like tempo workouts better than speed workouts, like
So the
sprint
throwing it with
workouts.
that.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Or if it's like 1 600 followed by 3 200s, I can do that.
That's a lot.
Mm.
Yeah, I think you're on your own there. I think me and
You
Makaya are in
are.
the same. We're in the same boat.
We
I
run
do
a straight
prefer weight
away.
room stuff. Yeah.
You haven't
Yeah.
mentioned anything about throwing or jumping though. It's just been all running. Do you enjoy the field events?
I do. Long jump is, it depends on the year. Long jump or hurdles, whatever I'm doing better at, that's my favorite event for the year. So I do like long jump practices, and I'm starting to like the throws. Javelin's just hard. We have a love-hate relationship. But shot put practice, I'm starting to enjoy, look forward to. But before, no, I did not look forward to any of the throwing practices because they're just hard. They're just very technical.
Yeah. It takes a lot of time to perfect it, and then even then it takes more time to get better, which is
Yes.
frustrating. Yeah, I did the deck a little bit in high school, and I was never great at the throws, but I just didn't spend enough time. So quick question for you. We asked Makaya this. What winter event would you do if you could switch into like the winter Olympic sports? What would you do?
If I had to switch right now at this age, or if I could start life over.
Just in general, if someone came to you and said, hey, we need you to train to make an Olympic team for the Winter Olympics, what would you pick? Like,
Well,
one, what would you like to do? And then two, what do you think you could most possibly do?
Realistically, I would probably say bobsled would be the easiest to move over to, but I've always liked watching figure skating. Obviously, that's something I could pick up now, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Figure skating. Yeah.
Better than that 54K cross country race that we just had a tweet up for.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
To be honest, that seems fun though. I actually have never been skiing or snowboarding, so I could see where it'd be fun just to like be on two skis and just kind of like just flowing through like the wilderness. That could be
It does
nice.
seem like it'll be relaxing.
Yeah.
And just to like kind of see what's out there. I wouldn't do it, but I think that would.
Yeah. Then you're also skiing 54 kilometers, so there's that part too.
Yeah.
The metaverse is coming. You can just put the goggles on and watch it. You can have somebody else do it for you.
Yeah, look at that though. It looks so cool. I mean, it's you're just in the middle of nowhere. It's nighttime at 11 o'clock in the morning, and you're just skiing. Like that's pretty cool. You're shaking your head like, no, that's just not for me. Are you watching any of the games that are happening right now, Talia?
Some snowboarding is on right now.
Oh, there you go.
Just went to a commercial, but like where they're kind of on this thing and they're doing church.
The half pipe, yeah.
Yeah.
I always love it when people describe sports that they don't know like the terms for. And I've found with a lot of these skiing events, the skiing athletes we've been talking to on this show this week, like there's a lot that I don't know or I just got completely wrong about so many of their sports. Is there anything it's weird. Another thing we've been trying to do with Devon, and this is just kind of for fun. We've been trying to combine sports, winter and summer sports. Like Devon's gonna try speed skating with hurdles at some point in time. You think there's any way to winterize the hep? What would you throw if it was wintry?
What would you throw if it was wintry?
It's big ice balls.
Yeah, you could some icicles.
Sick Apple with giant icicles.
Yeah, you could throw some icicles or some. I guess you could throw some snowballs, but they probably wouldn't go that far. Could do that cross country skiing. That would take the place of that 800.
So, what do we have to look forward to for you this year, Talia? Like, we're just getting started this track and field season.
I probably really won't get started until outdoor season. Texas Relays will be like my first all in. We're doing it competition. But yeah, like Makaya said, I think before I hopped on, the focus is on trying to make that world championship team. So I'll be in the US a lot. Won't be a lot of European sites from me until after maybe August, later July, August. But yeah, just do a couple HEPs. We're hosting the US trials for the HEP in Fayetteville.
Oh,
So that'll be interesting and fun. Be at home essentially.
I was going to say it's
both
got
of
to be
heaven
nice
and
to
deck.
wake up in your own bed and then go to a competition and then go back to
Right.
your own bed and go back to a competition.
Yeah, I've debated that. I think I'm going to stay in a hotel.
No kidding.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stay in a hotel so that I don't feel too relaxed. I don't want to feel like I'm too at home. So, because even when we would have like nationals or SECs here in school, we
Mhm.
would stay in a hotel just to get like that feeling. So I'll be driving my own car to the track, and I'll be 10 minutes away, if that far. I might stay in the one right across the street from the track, but yeah, I think it'll be fun. But that'll be different.
Yeah, that's actually a super interesting strategy that I don't think I've ever thought about, but it makes perfect sense.
I might come back home and eat food.
That'd
Yeah,
be
I'll
good.
probably
Yeah,
come and
cook
like
your own
make my
meals.
own breakfast. Yeah, but I probably will stay in a hotel just to kind of lock it.
But
Is
you
there a
say that.
particular reason?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you know why they're having like the multis events trials in a different location than Eugene?
Well, yeah, it's 6 weeks earlier, so it's May 6th, and they said it's because they feel like there's not enough time for the multi-eventers to recover before Worlds because it's only 2 weeks.
Okay.
Um, so they're having it earlier.
Yeah. Oh, I
What
don't
about
know the
us?
schedule. Only 2 weeks.
That's actually interesting coming from someone who obviously doesn't know that side of it. Uh, the recovery for a multi-sport athlete, like, is it because it's so many events in back-to-back days? How long does it actually take before you're feeling right again?
Oh, probably like a week,
Yeah.
10 days, especially if you do it you have a really good competition and it took a lot out of you. It probably takes, yeah, like a week.
So then doing the 800s after running the 60 hurdles, that was nothing for you then.
I mean, I was still tired because it was the 800, but yeah,
Yeah.
essentially. I think I still had practice the very next day.
Insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's insane. So look, we're getting to the end of the hour. So first off, I want to thank both of you guys for joining. This was fantastic. Love to hear your insights. We're going to be here for the next week and a half, give or take. So if you want to come back, we're going to have some winter athletes on as well. This is one of the rare shows that we don't have a winter athlete live with us right now. They're all in Europe competing, but I've been loving, especially with Devon as co-host, just the track and winter sports. The comparisons there's a lot of them. It's actually it's been crazy. Has that surprised you, Devon, how much like that you guys have in similar?
No, not really. I feel like a lot of sports have to deal with just forced production, and just being explosive, and that's pretty much the basis of track and field and the basis of most, sports in general. You could even say like the snowboarding half pipe, right? If you're more explosive, that means you can jump higher off the half pipe and you can do more tricks in the air because you got more time, right? So like the basis of most of winter sports seem to be similar. And like bobsled and luge and stuff like that. If you're fast, it's a huge advantage too. So I could see a lot of track athletes, getting into winter sports. We do see a lot of track athletes doing bobsled specifically,
Mhm.
after they retire from track, which is cool as well. So
What
very
is
interesting to hear about.
is it just the explosiveness out of the blocks translates to being able to get that sled moving fast down the ice? Is that what that is?
You know what? I think it's truly a learned movement. So, those initial pushes, like Makaya knows she's such a great starter. She would be an elite bobsledder because she has that muscle memory down to a T and could pick up that sport very easily, as opposed to someone that, maybe came from a different sport or just does, there's a lot of athletes that I met in the training center in Colorado Springs. They're coming from football and stuff like that, and they're not quite as efficient at pushing as track athletes are. So there's a bit of an advantage for sure for former track athletes to do specifically the bobsled, I think.
Yeah, and I actually trained with Olo Jones, who she was on the bobsled team last year, on the world team, but she didn't make the Olympic team this year. But when she comes, her training is basically the same as what we do, but a less distance and heavier weights. So it's basically the same training as track, but just heavier and shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she won a championship last year in bobsled, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
right?
she did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a big moment because I think that was the first time that she had done so in bobsled.
Right.
Yeah, it's got to be crazy. I'm doing summer and winter sports because like you hear the phrase "no days off," but like literally, if you got two sports that you're focusing on year round, there's got to be no days off for that. That's
Right.
yeah. We're so was she was bobsledding while you were training with her?
Right. So I guess their championships are right now.
Mhm.
So she would have been, doing the Olympics right now, but we're just starting our season. So well, I don't want to tell her business, but if she were to do track again, I don't know if she's doing it or not, but she would have to, drop all the weight that she dropped from bobsled and then just get back into track shape. So she's been training basically since last year when I was doing fall training, and is still going at it. So over a year of training right now.
There you go. Awesome. All right. So we like to wrap up the show. It's called "What Were You Thinking?" because we like to get inside of your guys' heads. I have a couple questions, Devon. I don't know if you have any "What were you thinking?" questions to throw out there. I'll give you the opportunity, or do you want me to go?
No, you go ahead. You go ahead
Okay.
today.
Okay, great.
I got yesterday.
There you go. So let's start with Makaya. I want to know what were you thinking at trials last year when you qualified for in the hundreds in the semis, right? And I think you were with Aaliyah Hobbs in that qualification, right? That was a big moment for you, and you can kind of tell just by watching on TV. Curious, what were you thinking?
Are you talking about the false start or are you talking about my race?
The race.
I mean, the only thing on my mind was making the finals to make the team.
Mhm.
So, in that moment, well, anytime I get on the line, I don't really think about much because I don't know, I just limit any outside thoughts. But I guess my only thought was just trying to make the team, getting out of the blocks and being in the top 3 to make the final.
Mhm.
Damn it.
Gotcha.
And something that's interesting is you can tell, especially the really elite track athletes, and I tell this to the kids I coach at the Naval Academy all the time. They ask me what I think about at races, and I said I don't think about anything because all the thinking happened in practice. I was like, that's why I'm every rep I tell them, hey, focus on this, focus on this, focus on this. So by the time they get to the race, they don't have to think about anything; it just happens.
Right.
Right. And that's the difference between kind of intermediate, getting up to the elite level, and then the really elite athletes. I think for sure.
Mm-hmm. And even after the race, people ask like, "Well, how did you feel?" And I'm like, "I don't know.
I blacked out.
I wasn't there for about 10 seconds, but."
I was gonna say one thing that I love watching, Devon, when you're racing, and you saw it at trials, you saw it even in Tokyo. It's like you're out there just having a good old time until like 5 seconds before the gun goes off. Like a lot of people, they got that game face, they're ready to go, and you're just out there like, oh, this is kind of fun. So
doing that
yeah,
thing.
I think for the most part.
Oh yeah, you did the thumb.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, you can get in trouble a little bit with your like emotional energy if you're too focused for too long or you're too nervous for too long. So I try not to focus on I try to warm up. Obviously I'm focused on doing what I'm doing. Then once each of those, each process is done, like going into the call room, I try to forget about it and just, not think about running for a second. And then I get to the track. Obviously I do my practice start and I focus on that in the moment. And then after it's done, I try not to think about it because I don't want to spend 20 minutes just, I gotta run fast, or I gotta do this, I gotta do that before you kind of get exhausted. It's just like taking a test, right? It's not a lot of hard work to take an hour-long test, but at the end of the hour-long test, you're tired because you were focused the whole time.
Right.
And so I kind of treat it that way as well. I try not to, and then right when the race is over, I try to forget about it too. I'm like, all right, whatever. Hopefully I'm on TV and I can, say, hey, mom. But yeah.
Would that mentality be the same if you were a ski jumper, like getting to the top of that and looking down that giant hill?
Yeah, I think it would even be more apparent because, there's not much you can do past warming up and then climbing onto that rail, and then just from that moment on, that's when you need to be locked in.
Yeah, well, you're going down regardless.
You're going down regardless.
Yeah, you're not bailing out at that point. So sticking to trials, let's ask you, Talia. So at Olympic qualifying, you unfortunately weren't able to finish because it was like, I don't know, 120,000 degrees outside. It was the worst heat I've ever experienced. I'm trying to know, what were you thinking right after that moment where you were like, you know what, it's not going to happen, and qualifying over?
Well, for a while I wasn't thinking because I was passed out, but when I came to,
When you came to, excuse me, what were you thinking when you came
I
to?
cried a lot.
Mhm.
It was like super emotional when I realized, like, oh shoot, I'm not going back out there because I just can't. Yeah, and you just feel like the hard work kind of all just went down the drain because the next one is 4 years away, or 3 years since everything got pushed back. But yeah, it was a very sad, emotional time. I don't know that I've ever been like that. And luckily I was like, I don't know if it's under the stadium, behind the stadium, I don't know, but not in front of people. It was really just like the paramedic people and my family and my coach. So it was like a very, very emotional tears.
Is there a certain level of excitement with the World Championship happening back in Eugene to kind of get another chance to go kick that track's ass this year? Yeah.
Not necessarily. I think my goal is to make the team, and obviously with trials, for us not even being there for the multis. I mean, I'm going to go to trials and do some open events, but I just want to be there and be able to represent the U.S. and be at home so all my family and friends can be there to watch. So I think I'm just excited for that.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much to the both of you for joining. Thanks, Devon, for coming back again. Where can folks find you? Where on social media? Where can they look you up and follow you? What you're doing?
Instagram at @love_T Brooks.
I'm also on Instagram at Briscoe, but spelled like the Cajun ways, BRISCEAUXXX.
Oh,
There's no O's in Louisiana, so we use EAUX.
That's right. I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. I hope to talk to you guys again, and best of luck this season as track and field gets going.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right. That was fun, Devon.
That was great. And I always like, conversing with my fellow track athletes because, it's something I relate to very well. Not that I don't relate to the winter sports. I think I relate to them on the level of being an athlete and dedicating so much time and effort to being great at a sport. But it's very, very interesting to learn the mindset of other athletes in different events, where they train, how they kind of take each step in training. We heard Talia say, oh, she did like a meet the day before, and then the next day she trained, and did an 800 time trial. Makaya said her favorite, type of training is in the weight room, which I would have never thought, right? Being a sprinter, I was like, hey, she needs to, go. But it does make a lot of sense. You have to be explosive. You have to be strong to be great at that event. So I'm learning a lot talking to all these athletes in general, which is awesome. And I really enjoy it.
Yeah, we need to. I think we're going to next week. We're expanding the repertoire. We got a couple of comedians on deck who might be coming on as well, who are athletic in their own right. Oh my God, there it goes! Just look at that. They're.
Is that Grant?
Yeah, it's like a flying squirrel. It looks like. Oh, and there he goes.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you just when you hit, you just do a belly flop and just slide down. Jeez. What were you thinking when you just saw Grant crash?
To be honest, it didn't. It's hard to say. It didn't look like it hurt that bad, but I also don't know. That is cool.
That's training. You just belly
business
flop
stick.
into a wind
We
tunnel.
need to get one of these right here.
What? You like literally just belly flop into a
Just
wind
fine.
tunnel. Oh, and now you got the skis on.
Yep.
That's incredible. There's a lot of technology that's going into training for ski jumping. It's not like it used to be. That's for
I
sure.
would love to be a ski jumper. You know what? I might have to take up, some of these athletes that train in Steamboat Springs and head over there, or go to Park City and hit up Billy.
Yeah, right. Would you? So you'd actually try it? You would do that. You would do that.
I don't know if I would specifically go that high to start.
Sure.
I would, obviously calculate the risk, but I would be interested in doing some of that. Yeah, that'd be fun.
I think they all started at like 2 years old on a 5-foot hill. So you've got some catching up to do.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think it's just time. I think by the time I'm 50, I could be an elite ski jumper.
Yeah. Now, if you want to take on curling, though, I could say, oh, we're winning. We're winning. We were just down, and now we're up. We're playing against the gold medal favorites.
Ooh,
Great Britain.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're pretty good, but not as good as us, at least through 7 ends.
At least right now.
Yeah, it's stop it right now. We'll take the win. Dude, this was great. You're gonna be gone for a few days. I think you're coming back next week, right? You're gonna come back?
Yeah, I'm coming back. I'm heading off to Kentucky tomorrow for competition, so I'm not going to be at my setup. So it'd be kind of hard for me to log in, but I might, jump on and watch and ask some questions in the chat.
You should just go around and just take a couple of videos of different track athletes talking about winter sports, and then send it to Bob, and
Say,
we'll
what were they
be like a
thinking?
field correspondent.
Yeah,
You know,
back again
yeah,
at the Kentucky track.
To worry about actual competing or anything like that.
It's true. No, I mean, it's okay. I'll focus when I need to focus an hour before the race.
There you go. All right. Yeah, 10 seconds before the race. And then as soon as you cross the finish line, go up to them with your phone. Hey, Zaza, what do you think about skiing? If he's there. I don't know. Yeah, maybe
True.
he is. Who knows? All right. This was fun. Thanks so much, Devon. Again, tell them where they can find you over the next couple of days since they can't find you here.
You can find me on ESPN 10 a.m. Mountain Standard, or no, Central Standard Time. That's Kentucky.
Louisville? Yeah, that's Central.
Central 10 a.m. to 12 Central Standard Time on ESPN2. I'll be racing on Saturday. I think there's a rerun on Sunday as well. I don't know exactly when. You can find me on Instagram, Devon Allen 13, Twitter the same. And yeah, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, we got to get your buddy Kenny also on this show at some point.
Oh yeah, Kenny.
All the American Track League, and you and him met during American Track League last year. We got to make that happen again.
True, that'd be great.
Right, we're working on that. And everyone, thank you so much for joining. Again, you can follow World's Greatest on Twitter at World's Greatest without any vowels, or at World's Greatest Team on Instagram or Facebook. And also, you can watch all of our content youtube.com/World's Greatest. We'll be back here again tomorrow, same time, 9 o'clock. Sounds good. Sounds like a plan. And and Kenny Mayne is coming on next week. We just got the confirmation, just like that.
Let's go.
We got the confirmation.
Confirmed. Shout out Kenny.
So shout out Kenny. That's it. That's the only shout out for the day. I like it. Enjoy the games. Good luck, Devon. Bring home
the win, the gold, the golden stitch.
Yeah, this should be a golden baseball bat in Louisville.
That's true. I'm gonna get a baseball bat.
All right, we're gonna work on that. All right, there you go. All right, bye.
Peace out.